3-7, multiplying polynomial expressions by monomials. When we are multiplying these monomials by polynomial expressions, we are practically just distributing. So if we look at example 1a, it tells us to find the product of each. So we have the 6x cubed times negative 4x to the fourth power. So we're going to take those coefficients and multiply them. So we have a 6 times a negative 4. Then we have x cubed and x to the fourth. So we're going to follow the rules of exponents. We're going to keep the base since it's the same and add those exponents. So we have the 6 times negative 4, which is negative 24. Keep the x, add the exponents. We get negative 24x to the seventh power. If we look at b, we have we have 5xy squared times 7xy. So we're going to multiply the 5 times the 7. The x is raised to the first power on both terms, so we're going to add the 1 and the 1. And the y, we have a second power and a first power that we're adding. So the 5 times 7 is 35. The x to the second, y to the third. For 14, we now have 4. We have 18x squared. We have 18y squared x cubed z times 13x to the 8th power, y to the 6th power, z to the 4th power. So we're going to keep these in alphabetical order. The 18 and the 3 we're going to multiply. We have we have an x to the 8th power. We have an x to the 3rd power. So we're going to add those powers. So 3 plus 8. Then the y we have to the 2nd power and we have to the 6th power. So we'll add those. And then z we have to the 1st power and to the 4th power. So we'll add those. So the 18 times 3 times 8 is 24. Carry the 2. 3 times 1 is 3 plus 2 is 5. So 54. X to the 11th, y to the 8th, z to the 5th. If we look at example 2a, we now have a monomial being multiplied by a trinomial. So when we do this, we're going to multiply that monomial by every single term and distribute it into that set of parentheses. So for a, we have 3x times 3x squared plus 6x minus 5. We're going to take that 3x, multiply it by the 3x squared. That 3x is positive, so it's going to be plus 3x. Then that next term is a positive 6x. So we're going to just put the 6x down, and then again, we have that positive 3x times now a negative 5. So the sign that's in front of the 5 will stay with the 5 and make it negative 5. So the 3x times 3x squared, 3 times 3 is 9. The x has an invisible exponent of 1. So 1 plus 2 is 3, so that's 9x cubed. The 3x times 6x is going to be 18x squared, and then 3x times negative 5 is negative 15x. So 9x cubed plus 18x squared minus 15x. For example 2b, we have 2xy times 5x squared y plus 3xy squared plus 7xy. So again, we are distributing that 2xy and multiplying it by each term on the inside of those parentheses. So we have 2xy times 5x squared y. The 2xy is positive, so we're going to have plus 2xy times a positive 3xy squared. And then we have the positive 2xy times 7xy. So we're going to be multiplying now. The 2xy times 5x squared y. Our x and our y's have our invisible exponents of 1. So 2 times 5 is 10. X times x squared is x cubed. And y times y is y squared. The 2xy times 3xy squared, again, our x's have an invisible exponent of 1, and that y has an invisible exponent of 1. So 2 times 3 is 6, positive 6. X times x is x squared, and y times y squared is y cubed. Next, we have 2xy times 7xy. Again, all of those variables have invisible exponents of 1. So 2 times 7 is 14, x squared, y squared. For our next example, we have 2a squared times 5b squared plus 3ab plus 6a plus 1. So we're going to distribute that 2a squared and multiply it by all 4 terms inside those parentheses. So we're going to have 2a squared times 5b squared, the 2a squared times 3ab, the 2a squared times 6a, and the 2a squared times 1. Oops. For the 2a squared times 5b squared, we're going to have 10a squared b squared. The 2a squared times 3ab is going to be 6a cubed b. The 2a squared times 6a is going to be a 12a cubed. And the 2a squared times 1 is just 2a squared. So we have 10a squared b squared plus 6a cubed b plus 12a cubed plus 2a squared. For example 7, we have x times x plus 3, so we're going to distribute that x. So x times x, and then x times 3. The x times x is x squared, and the x times 3 is 3x. As you see with all of these, those coefficients will always go in front of those variables, so make sure that they do go in front. And if you have an exponent, make sure it is raised, and it is a little bit smaller than your regular numbers, but it is raised to that power, so it's a power of that term. For 8, we have negative 2x times 4x squared minus 3x plus 5, so we're distributing that negative 2x. So we're going to have negative 2x times 4x squared, negative 2x times negative 3x, and negative 2x times 5. If you realize here that sign that's in front of that negative, or that 2x, is staying with that negative 2x throughout every term that is being multiplied by. So we have negative 2x times 4x squared is going to give us a negative 8x cubed. The negative 2x times negative 3x is a positive 6x squared. And then the negative 2x times 5 is a negative 10x. So negative 8x cubed plus 6x squared minus 10x. For example 9, we have 5xy squared times 3x squared minus 4xy plus y squared. So we are distributing that 5xy squared. We're going to multiply it by the 3x squared, by the negative 4xy, and by the y squared as well. Okay, so we have 5xy squared times 3x squared. This is going to give us a 15x cubed y squared. The 5xy squared times negative 4xy is going to be a negative 20x squared y cubed. And then the 5xy times y squared is going to give us a positive 5xy to the third power. For 10, it tells us to solve n times 2 minus 5n plus 5 times n squared minus 2 is equal to 0. So we are going to distribute this n, and then we'll distribute that positive 5 as well. So we have n times 2, which is 2n, n times negative 5, which is negative 5n squared. Then we have plus 5 times n squared. It's going to give us a positive 5n squared. And then 5 times negative 2, which is negative 10, is equal to 0. We are going to combine our like terms. That negative 5n squared plus the 5n squared is going to cancel out. So the only thing we have left is the 2n minus 10 is equal to 0. So from here, we're going to move the 10 over by adding it to both sides. And we get 2n is equal to 10. And then we divide each side by 2 to get that n is equal to 5. And remember, we can always check our answer by plugging the 5 in and simplifying. We should get 0 is equal to 0 if we plug the 5 in and check to see that our answer is correct.